What's up, everybody? Eternal Red Gamer here. So we need to discuss the recent announcement for Gears of War E-Day. I didn't get to watch it live, but I did get to watch it yesterday with the Xbox Showcase, and I want to talk about the importance of why E-Day is a more important game to come out than Gears 6. So first, we're going to watch the trailer again, and I'll react to it again, and then we'll kind of dive into it. So while you're here, do me a favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel, check out more content, and let me know in the comments what you think about this announcement and others from the Xbox Showcase. Okay, so let's make sure. Do we have a we have a 4K trailer. Let's go. Good. We deserve this. I have not watched the 4K trailer yet. I mean, as soon as I saw that, I said, yeah, Gears game, Gears 6, sure. But, man, if the cutscenes look like this, because it says in-game footage, if the game looks like this, holy crap. You know, clearly they're hinting at E-Day from the Welcome Home. And then also the fact that their gear is the original gear. There's so much in this game trailer. See, the biggest thing is he doesn't, as my brother pointed out when I was talking to him yesterday, like, Marcus has never fought anything. This is his first encounter with the Locust. I love how they made it, like, he looks exactly like JD in Gears 4. And I thought it was a transition between Gears, 5 and 6 because of that. I was like, that looks like JD. But then it got me thinking, I don't think you ever see Marcus without his bandana in the entire franchise of the first 3 games. And there's the hole that they buried out of. Music, man. This is why, this right here is the exact reason why this game is more important to come out first than Gears 6. That dude right there. Why are there I didn't put text. I didn't put subtitles in here. E-Day. Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. Don't mind my hair. It's a little wild this morning. What an amazing trailer. The fact that this game is going back to where it all started, which we know some lore. Like, it's been a while since I played Gears, so we're going to dive back into it a little bit. But the fact that they're taking the game literally to its roots and literally back to where this whole series and franchise started, I think is amazing. All right, so I'm going to quickly touch up on this again. So, in my opinion, when you take a game that has not released in almost 5 years, we're in 2024 now, and you're awaiting the next franchise, they have definitely planned this in advance. You know that you have to finish the series off. It should end in 6 games, but we won't know for sure. The fact that you're gonna reintroduce a character that everybody loves, and spoiler alert, Dom dies in Gears 3. He sacrifices himself for his team in that sequence. Dom is one of the people's characters. Like, when you factor in the story, my brother said he got teary-eyed when he saw this because Dom is coming back and they're going to reintroduce his gameplay or his story of where it all started with Marcus. His whole, like, kind of very early, war brother camaraderie is extremely important, and this will what's the word I'm looking for? This will revigorate this franchise because you have characters that people love and want to see. You have a story that hasn't been fleshed out in gameplay form where you can actually do this and focus on Emergence Day, which is essentially day 1. And that war lasted a long time. And when you cut to this other scene here, I mean, I don't have my pointer on, but you have in this upper left corner, you have a corpser here. In the middle, you have a corpser. The right side, you have a corpser. If you look down where the holes are, You see locusts coming out. You see drones on the bottom right of Marcus's feet coming out. Everything is going to shit, and this place is going to be in shambles. And you see a little bit of that in some flashbacks. But the fact that they're really going to be honing into the darkness, the lore, and kind of the fear that these characters and the whole COG army has, because you have this unknown alien species literally come up out of the ground, and you don't know what to do, and you're freaking out, and you just ended your own war, and now you have a brand new war on the horizon. It is nuts. It is completely bonkers. So here's one thing I'll say to this. So if you missed Gears 1 on Xbox 360, if you missed that like early era of Gears of War on Xbox, you missed out a lot. And not just, I mean, this happens all the time in sports, in movies, and like you had to be there kind of thing. You had to be there for the excitement and just the craziness that Gears brought to not only Xbox, but just how games work. When you look at what Gears did for gameplay, it maximized how third-person shooters and the cover mechanic works. It is flawless in the sense of the idea behind it. So many games took what Gears did and implemented it into their games, whether it's future iterations of Rainbow Six and other just big shooters or just big adventure games. And you look at games like Splinter Cell and just other like stealth games. And like future Metal Gears, like they had a cover system, Uncharted, that was inspired by how flawless Gears system works. And then you had the roadie running, which kind of implemented kind of fast action. We're going into battle, like that. That was a game changer. And then you talk about the multiplayer. Like the multiplayer in Gears 1 was probably one of the best experiences for online gaming that I have personally had. It was just not only just a lot of fun, but competitively, it was something where you had to really rank yourself high. And then there was, then you had all the glitches that were a lot of fun, even though they tormented you. And then you had hosts. You had what did they call it? They didn't call it host kills. You had like host advantage, because if you hosted a match because the server was tied to you, the connection was really good or really bad. So typically, if you hosted a match, like you you had the best connection. It was definitely a good time. All right, so it's been a long time, as I mentioned, since I've played this game. They remade this game too in the Gears of War Ultimate Edition, which was phenomenal. When did this game launch? It was 2006. It wasn't a launch title, but it was very early in the Xbox 360's life cycle. And I didn't own the game originally. My brother owned it. And he brought his Xbox over to show me this game he was playing. And I didn't have an Xbox 360 at the time. And he showed me the game. And he's like, you got to play with me. This is how you play. This is this. And I said, okay, cool. I think I like this game. And then I played a little bit more of it, and I was so immersed in the gameplay and the action that I ended up buying an Xbox 360 specifically for this game. We're going to jump into a little bit of the plot. The game opens 14 years after Emergence Day. A former soldier named Marcus Phoenix is freed from the Jacinto Maximum Security Prison by Dominic Santiago, also known as Dom, because Phoenix, as you find out in later games, disobeyed a direct command towards the end of the war. He went to go find his father in his father's mansion, and I believe I don't think he sees his father. He went to go look for him, and then they assume that he died. His father was a researcher and whatnot. He needs help fighting against the Locust. Both managed to escape the prison before it was destroyed by a corpser. You're looking for the resonator. You end up running into General Rom, partner with Alpha, and I think you're trying to go with Delta Squad, and you're essentially trying to defeat the Locust Berserker. Oh, the Berserkers! Wow, man, it's been so long. Looking for the resonator to help you. What was it? What was it called? It was called. Hold on. Wow, the Light Mass Bomb. There we go. You're trying to build the Light Mass Bomb to essentially flood and destroy all the tunnels underneath the ground, and you think you're going to destroy the Locust horde there. And then, of course, there's different acts within the game. And then you have a few different characters. And then the fact that you see Queen Mira at the end of Gears 1 and it's just, you think you've won and then you didn't win. Like the game was just starting. I mean, when you think of, what's actually in the game, you have a bunch of cool weapons. I mean, some of the weapons like the boom shot reminds me of like Doom and like Quake. It's some of these just crazy weapons. You have the torque bow and just the game is very blood and gore oriented because you're literally going to war, and I think that's what really brought the game to new heights. Here's a little bit more of the story. So the series wasn't on Earth. It takes place on a fictional Earth-like planet called Sarah. Civilization develops and endures a millennia of conflict and leaves humanity on the brink of extinction. The leaders broke the era of peace and ushered scientific advancements and cultural renaissance. They're trying to get more energy by fossil fuels and nuclear power, and that's where you get the emulsion that comes into play there. The UIR develops a Hammer of Dawn system capable of delivering precise and destructive orbital to surface laser strikes, pretty much satellite strikes from space. And they use that throughout the game, and they end up destroying in the war. They end up destroying pretty much a whole like big city because it was a last resort option. 6 weeks after the COG and UIR agreed to an armistice, does this mean truce? Race of subterranean creatures known as the Locust Horde emerged from Sarah's depths, consuming cities, wiping out 25% of the world population in the first 26 hours. That is nuts. Referring to emergent state, the Locusts overwhelmed the already battle-worn COG forces during the surprise attack, causing them to retreat to Jacinto, where the Locusts cannot dig through its granite bedrock and reluctantly bombard their own cities with the Hammer of Dawn to halt the Locust advance. The ensuing Scorched Earth tactic destroys much of Sarah's cities and human population. The COG continues to operate out of their capital of Alfira, and other cities plateau just as Jacinto's city, while surviving humans known as the Stranded wander through the streets of Sarah's charred ruins. When you look at Gears 2 and you look at Gears 3 and how they are surviving this long years of battle, it really heightens the importance and the stress that they had to go through. And they're trying to save civilization. And then you find out about Mira, you find out about Adam Phoenix, and kind of how it all ties together in the end. And then it just kind of continues on into Gears 4 and 5. I think Gears 1 is maybe not the best game in the franchise, but it's the most important one because it really launched a fantastic storyline that tapers off a little bit in 3 and then brings it back together when you think there's a little bit of finality. And then Gears 4 just kind of opens it up. The fact that we're going to see young Marcus, young Dom, we may or may not see young Cole and Baird because they're on a different team. So my brother was saying that he thinks, and maybe he's hoping, that you get kind of multiple storylines where you get to play as Marcus and Dom and what they're doing over here, and then you get to play as young Bird and Coltrane over here and kind of see what they were doing and the importance of the war before they get together. But what's interesting though is they don't get together until Gears 1. And this is a prequel to Gears 1. So you might not get that because you're going to have two storylines that never intertwine where the characters meet each other during the war, unless they do, and I don't recall if they do or not. Cole was, a big kind of blitzball football player, so he was like a famous, somewhat famous person in a sport. But so here's my thoughts on some of the gameplay and what may or may not happen. Are we going to see new enemies and characters? Of course we are. But the thing about having 5 previous games, are you going to have enemies that are the entirety of the same enemies from the first game and that's it? No, that doesn't make sense. You have to get something fresh and new. So in Gears 2, you have Tickers and you have the Cantus and you have other enemies that are introduced in the second game that you've never seen in the first game. That does not mean they were not there in the beginning. That also does not mean that the COG army is not aware of them. Just we as the player had never seen them because the game has to evolve. So I'm interested to see how they're going to mix new characters from future games and kind of compile them into a prequel. Or are we going to see enemies that we have not seen at all, that, there's some scripted storyline that this particular breed got destroyed? That doesn't make sense, but it's probably going to happen. You are going to see, you're probably going to see how they invented the chainsaw Lancer because that wasn't in the trailer. I'm assuming they didn't have that weapon until the Horde arrived. The beginning of Gears starts with Marcus in prison. So I believe the end of the game will probably be like, a timeline sequence. And then at the end, Marcus is going to be on trial, and then he's going to be put in prison, and then the credits are going to roll. Right? Or maybe credits will roll, and then afterwards you're going to see Dom go in to see Marcus in prison, like the very first, and then the game's just going to cut. The end of like the credits, post-credit scene. The end of the post-credit scene.
What are you doing here?
Getting you out. Here, put this on. You'll need it.
You could get in a lot of trouble for doing this.
Not anymore. Things have changed.
Also, we have to see the emergence of the Hammer of Dawn. It doesn't make sense to not kind of see how that puts into play. And I'm sure we're going to see a good amount of backstory as far as like the Pendulum War and kind of how that really impacted the Locust army kind of coming in, because the Cogs are already pretty much going home from fighting in their own war. I mean, I'm sure they lost a lot of soldiers, and then you don't have enough people to fight in this war, and then all of a sudden you have to go fight another war. So it'll be very interesting to see how Prescott and some of the other leaders, Hoffman, I'm sure we're going to see Kim, because General Rom is leading the force that ends up killing Kim at the beginning of Gears. So I wonder if we're going to see like Ram in this first game, kind of in the background, like he's the one that's leading this charge, and then you end up killing his goons and some other locusts that you see. My brother asked, are we going to see Krill in this game? Is the Krill going to have any factor, or is that something that comes, later on? Also, is this going to be 2-player co-op? I don't imagine it's going to be 4-player co-op, because the storyline is probably going to focus on Dom and Marcus. Is it going to be 2-player couch co-op? This game needs to have 2-player couch co-op. You can't not have it. You just can't. You can't put it in the game where the original game had it, and then this game and this retelling of the original Emergence Day does not have it. You need games where you can play together in the same house without an internet connect. It just needs to happen. Like, there needs to be accessibility for that. There needs to be, regular modes. There needs to be a hard mode. And I think what's going to be very important when you talk about the multiplayer, there needs to be really good multiplayer. That's what was the foundation of Gears multiplayer in Gears 1. There needs to be Horde mode. I'm sure they're going to have a couple other modes that they had from other games. You don't need Annex. You don't need Annex, but you can come up with something new. You can do King of the Hill, and you can do some other stuff. Just make the game at its core. Make it fun. Make it bloody. Make it action-packed. Make the storyline mean something. Make it gritty, and make this a game that people will want to play and talk about for years to come. Xbox hasn't had a lot of hits recently, and there were some interesting things that were shown off on the showcase, but this one clearly takes the cake. And the reason why Gears 6 can be put off to later is because the importance of Dom being a character, Marcus being the front of the franchise, and then telling a story that really needs to be dived into a bit more, and then to live that through gameplay action in its entirety is better than anything that could possibly come of Gears 6. When you have some of the characters, including Dom, that have already died, you have other characters that are older, and you have newer characters that are not as impactful as Dom and early Marcus, and some of the other characters that you might see. Are you going to see Anya in this game? Is Anya going to make an appearance? So it's going to be interesting to see. They didn't have a release date. This game is probably not going to come out until late 2026. I do not see this coming out in 2025. It's possible. We don't know how far they are into development. We don't know what the gameplay is going to look like, but we know what the game is. I just don't see this coming out next year. I think this is far into development, but I think to really polish the game, it's going to need another year or two. It's been 5 years since the last Gears game has released, and I imagine that this game has probably been in development for longer than that. I don't see this game coming out next year, and if it does, that would be awesome, because it's definitely not coming out this year. And if it did come out this year, that would blow our effing minds. Trailer was a 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. Announcement was 10 out of 10. Cannot wait to play this game. This is going to be awesome. So I'm going to wrap it up for now. Again, like the video, subscribe to the channel, check out more stuff on my channel. Let me know what your thoughts were on the announcement for Gears of War and also on the other items in the showcase. I will see you on the next video or stream. Catch you later.